Hey, Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 as Canada. We are on the home stretch. We are on the way to the W. Tomato Town has been wiped out, and we are getting our culture. Now, it says here we're going to win in 129 turns, but it will surely be faster than that. Also, there are 4 concurrent things going on here. There's 3 aid requests and the Nobel Prize in Literature, and we want to win them all. Now, we will certainly win the Nobel Prize in Literature because I am generating an insane amount of great writer, great artist, and musician points compared to most other civs in the game. But in terms of the send aid stuff, I definitely want to be doing these send aid projects. I normally wouldn't be doing those. However, the unique thing about this particular game is that there are 4 of them running, which I have literally never seen in my entire life playing Civ. Maybe it has something to do with how many people are on the map in terms of like, this is a giant map with lots going on. But yeah, that changes the value proposition, because now I can't remember how much you get for doing a send aid project, but it's a decent chunk. So if I get those done, we should get credit across all 4 of those thingies. We are going to trade with Brussels here. I want that envoy, and we're also continuing to just generally develop our empire. Now, I think the main goals here are to just continue to develop our infrastructure. We already have our plan in place and we just need to execute. That's the really, really great thing about planning ahead. And it's one of the things that I feel like, again, this game just does really well. It actually rewards you for planning ahead and understanding the game mechanics and synergizing everything together. It's probably the best thing about the game is how satisfying it is to actually build a successful empire. Pop down yet another national park. We're up to 400 tourism per turn, baseline, and we should be hitting 500 in the next few turns. So I think overall things are going really great for me, and we're going to start seeing all this planning, all this work, all this effort start to return our dividends, right? We're going to start collecting our tendies, right, from all this hard work we've put into planning our empire. And if I know gamers, I know they care about their tendies. Right, we have ideology now, and some of these cards would be worth it to plug in, like gunboat diplomacy, for example. But I think we're just going to hold off on that until we get closer to democracy, which is 3 turns away. I think I will plug in lightning warfare just so I can get a couple of mounties a little bit quicker, because I got a mountie coming in here. I'm getting tons of gold actually. I think that's for gifting or something. I don't know where I'm getting all that gold from. But I find once you're the target of one of those emergency things, you just start printing, dude. You just start printing the money. So Adigret has actually flipped to me, and I will keep this city. I may as well. It actually already has a theater square, which is really cool, which kind of opens up options for me to get more great works. And it's a fully built theater square as well with an art museum. So of course I'm going to take that naturally. Oh, very, 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 very first person to circumnavigate the world. We finally achieved it, and it took us a while, not going to lie. It's 1220 AD. I mean, we are ahead of time in terms of circumnavigation about like real world standards. But this is such a huge map that, you know, it was a lot of work. It's a lot of tiles to cover. Okay, so India wants to give me a great work. I don't want to give you my niter. Can we retool this deal a little bit? Like, maybe you take some coal instead. Why don't you give me all of your luxuries? Let's see. Can we make this deal work? Why don't you give me Hamlet as well? I don't have enough room for Hamlet as well. Right, I'll take this deal. Seems good. Now, we did an aid request, which gave us 200 points with every civ in the aid request, which makes these super worth doing, because that's worth actually 800. Each one of these is worth 800 gold in terms of spending on the aid request. So I think that's going to be a big priority for me to send aid a bunch, because I need to get all these diplomatic victory points for myself, or at least as many of them as is feasible. And while I would love to be actually developing my infrastructure right now, taking a bit of time to send some aid to other civs is perfectly within reason. Let's eat this guy, kaboom. And then we got ourselves a Mountie army who's quite powerful, and then we can clear this barb camp. Man, I've cleared so many of these barb camps this game. It's actually kind of hard to keep track of them all. Now, my amenities are insane right now. I'm getting the 20% boost. I kind of wish I'd picked up that great scientist that gives you extra boosts from having high amenities. That would have been real nice. Actually, I should not have put lumber mills on these, because this will be a preserve later in the game. I guess it's okay to have lumber mills on them for now, so I'll probably redo that actually. But yeah, this will be a preserve eventually, giving me really good yields on these tiles. But yeah, I'm feeling so good about this game. Easily one of the most fun games I've played. Like since the launch of the game. Like, Canada is so much fun, and this map is so cool. If you get a little bit of room to breathe, I would probably like shave off like 4 civs if I was going to play on this map again, because it's a little bit cramped for some of the people who spawn. So you shave off a few civs, maybe add in a few city-states, have people dispersed along the map a little bit better. I'd say this is a very, very fun map to have really big games in. Okay, right, we have suffrage, which means we can unlock democracy. Now, democracy is massive for two reasons. First of all, it has all of these economic policy cards, which are great ways for us to get tourism in the late game. It has two diplomatic policy cards, and it makes our trade routes to our allies much better. This is going to be less important in a huge game like this. Less of my trade routes are going to be concentrated on a single ally, but this is still good, and the 15% discount on gold purchases is really nice, and the 2 wildcards are honestly really, really good. And not only that, but we actually get more envoys from being a democracy too, compared to being a monarchy. You can see here, monarchy gets 2 envoys at 150 points for influence, and we are currently gaining 12 influence per turn, whereas democracy gets 3 envoys for 200 points. I think it's technically better to be in monarchy because of the 50% influence point boost, but it's only a small downgrade. Now, in terms of changing my government, New Deal, look at this, okay? 8 amenities and 16 housing, and that number is only going to increase as the game goes on. So that card feels really nice to me for now. Monarchic Legacy also feels amazing to me. I could plug that in. I think I could leave Invention for now. Plug in Monarchic Legacy and get that extra housing back, plus the +2 diplomatic favor for all my Renaissance walls. And I have a lot of Renaissance walls. We plug in military research for 30 science. I think Raj has kind of run its course now, and I feel like Merchant Confederation is going to be really, really good because gold multiplies really well with the democracy government. Triangular trade is a viable choice here, as is aesthetics if I wanted to just get even more culture per turn, which is probably not a terrible idea. But gunboat diplomacy is really, really nice here too, because it would give me those extra envoy points, which helps me scale off Merchant Confederation and just helps my empire scale, because your empire scales pretty hard with how good your relationship with your city-states are. I'd like to have public transport plugged in, but I don't have any neighborhoods built yet. So I may just pop in triangular trade because, again, this government scales amazingly with gold. Now that we have suffrage, I think we stop up to pick up shopping mall. And now the big thing here is to get the social media and environmentalism. So let's go ahead and pick up cultural heritage, because that's going to give me one of these really important cards, the heritage tourism. That's going to get plugged in pretty much immediately. Although then again, I don't have to plug in heritage tourism immediately. I could make the choice to instead beeline for online communities and get collective activism for that insane culture output for being suzerain. Or, you know what, as Wilfrid Laurier, getting stadiums up is huge. I should also start thinking about whether or not I want to use colossal heads at all this game. Boom, there we go. National Park in Vancouver, giving me yet more amenities. You see, I've got almost no pins left. We're cleaning up. We are cleaning house. This has been a very, very satisfying empire to set up and execute. Just going through and managing my diplomacy, getting those open borders, making sure that everyone likes me, getting those extra luxuries, selling off any spare strategics I have. Like, for example, you could very happily buy like 20 coal off me. 28 gold per turn, plus a bunch of amenities, mutual open borders. It's really, really important. I know this is like kind of a little bit of a tedious thing. I kind of wish you could set deals to auto-renew. But it is actually really, really important in a tourism game to get open borders with people. And the problem is that, like, the more players are in the game, the more tedious it is. So what I tend to do when the game gets big enough, I'll just kind of let them lapse for a little bit and then wait till they all sync up together and then see if people will, see if I can get them all the open borders to sync up. That way I only have to do it once every 30 turns. And even then, it's not the most amazing feeling to have to do it. One thing I'm super grateful for, though, it seems like the developers have actually fixed the equalized trade deal bug that was plaguing my games, dude. It was so annoying for a very, very long time to try to set up trade deals with the AI, where you'd have to like manually do one side of the trade deal at a time. But now you can just click that, hey, listen, just make the deal equitable. We'll figure out the rest, and you can just get on with your day. And I love it. The game is better for those fixes. And that's another thing. I really, really appreciate the developers have put so much time and energy into actually fixing up some of the things in the game that are a little bit, borked. Because some of the things, they're borked. Military science, as well as line infantry and cavalry are unlocked. Do I go for this coal power plant? Ooh, I do think we should get our government plaza thing up. I feel like National History Museum is super good now. And I may actually switch Pingala over to Ottawa now. Yeah, this feels really good to me. 4 extra slots, move Pingala to the capital, lines up nicely. I do suffer a little bit in the midterm, but then I can move Magnus over to Peterborough, and then if I do decide to expand out into this wilderness for a little bit of extra tourism, I can buy a couple of settlers in here without sacrificing population, which is always good. Now we got our Grove in Halifax, and this city needs a little bit of help. It's kind of suffering. It's only 20 production, so I'm actually going to buy the Grove, because again, remember, I get things cheaper, and that's going to give me really, really good yield tiles. And then I'm also going to go ahead and buy the Sanctuary, because that's actually going to buff up some of the tiles that St. John is going to use here. And I have a couple of builders in the area to start getting the appeal up in this area. So I got a farm triangle in Peterborough. We're working production tiles as well as culture tiles right now. I'm going to power hard for this city and just work these really big farm triangles to try to power the city up, and then it'll start naturally working good tiles. That's the real power of a farm triangle in a city, is that you can kind of ignore some of the other memes, and then the city will naturally grow. I would like one in Vancouver as well, if I could get it, or else I would maybe go for a preserve like right there and try to power the city up that way. But that requires the city to grow. That's why I really like farm triangles. They just make the difference when you're trying to grow a city. Boom. First civ in the game to start consuming coal, and we have a golden age secured already have a golden age secured, and we're only a few turns into this era. Now, something I didn't consider is the Estadio de Maracana. Ooh, I mean, I don't need these amenities. I already have insane amenities. Broadway could be really interesting here. 20% culture in the city, as well as extra great people slots, which would combine really well with Pingala. If I went for the coal power plant, it would pump this city up pretty hard too. You know what I might do? I think I purchased a coal power plant. Like, look at this capital city! 115 production, and I haven't even tried that hard. We can get a stadium in 5 turns. We can build Broadway in 15. This is... oh man, this would be like the perfect Eiffel city. I may sacrifice this deer tile, which is an amenity and a really good tile, but this is the perfect city to get a wonder in. Right, so we have professional sports, so things like ski resorts are now a possibility for me. I reckon environmentalism is actually just better for me to go for at this point, because a 25% tourism across my empire is better than a 50% tourism output that civilizations that I have a trade route with, just due to the fact that there's like 20 civs in the game and I have 8 trade routes, so like the maths on that seems to just work out in environmentalism's favor for me. Then again, I am only 3 techs, like 16 turns away from getting online communities for the plus 5% culture per city state I'm suzerain of, which would allow me to power super hard for some of these late game hidden cards. I kind of like it. I kind of like this social media play. Let's do it. All right, we're ahead on the competitions so far because we've been doing all of the projects. We're a little bit behind Hungary on the Poland one, so we might have to top that one up with gold. Look at these tiles now, man. Oh, I can't wait to get national parks down there. In fact, I'm about to get one here, which means I can remove these pins that are hiding the beautiful yields from me. I gotta say, I love the preserve. It has a very niche use case, but when it's happening, when you're using it, it feels amazing. The one downside is I'm now generating CO2, which is going to start lowering my score in these competitions, but I think the production is worth it, especially if I go to my power map mode now, and you can see a huge portion of my cities are now being powered. Speaking of which, let's see, what great traders have gone? All right, so he took John Spilsbury, which is fair enough. Great engineer-wise, somebody took Philippo, which I'm fine with. Taking James Watt is okay here. I feel like that means I don't need to build a workshop in here or build a factory if I go for James Watt. So I think I will go for him. I'm going to spend a bit of gold in Kingston. This city's having a bit of a struggle to actually get anywhere production wise, so I may have to like do a bit of tile swapping, make sure the city has the production it needs. So I'm going to use my gold to advance the city with an archaeological museum, and then I'll probably buy the archaeologist in there as well. All right, we got Rembrandt, and you know what, I could actually show off this mod here because I want to see only great works of art and artifacts. So I'm gonna flip this over to Art Museum, and then I'm gonna click the theming button, which will show me things of the same type. Now, what does 20 mean? Ah, I see. So the color is the type, and the number means it's from the same artist, right? So Michelangelo is 21. Michelangelo is 21. So Michelangelo is 21. Ah, okay. All right. I'm learning how this works. That's really cool. That makes theming way easier. How does that work for relics? Because this is the first time I've actually, artifacts. The first time I've actually used it as well. Oh, I see. So it goes by player ID. I'm 0 player, so these are mine. And then Barb's are 63. So that makes theming very easy as well. And then it must be colored by era, and all of these are ancient era. Ooh. I like that. That's really cool. Genuinely the sort of mod that should probably be included in the base game in some fashion. Not necessarily the way they've done it, but in some way, it should probably be there. He wants to sell me his Holy Lance. I'm going to take that deal. You know what? I'll take your Holy Lance. It's a religious relic, but it's extra faith. It stacks up. It's a nice boost. Ooh, first campus with 3 adjacency or higher. Got myself a little bit of extra era score. Not that I need the era score. I'm kind of churning. I do want to check this. I'm at 46 out of 178. I thought I was at 47 last turn. I could be wrong. So we're about a third of the way through this. Say just say a quarter. We'll call it a quarter. Now, this is where some actually really interesting things are going to start applying from these stadiums. Normally, when you build a stadium, you don't really care too much about the population thing, but my cities are so huge as Canada because they just get so much food from the tundra now that I'm actually going to get that +5 tourism from this stadium. And that's also, remember, that also boosts my ice hockey rings. I'm actually not really sure what to do with my governors right now. I guess Liang Agriculture makes sense. I can eventually move her over to Brantford and take advantage of the coastline a little bit better. But yeah, some of my decisions now are becoming a little bit more fuzzy and hard to figure out, because a lot of these things I have fully figured out, like, all right, you go for this, then you go for that, and this sort of gets you a relatively optimal path to victory in the way that I like to play. But once you start hitting this like fairly late game stuff, some of those decisions, it becomes a lot harder. And it's weird because the decisions here are smaller and less consequential, but they actually become harder, which is paradoxical, right? Why would the decisions become harder in the late game? All right, so I have the option of containment, which would allow me to spend my envoys super efficiently to get some suzerainties, which I think I will do. And I'll lose Merchant Confederation temporarily, and I'll plug in containment, go about and spend my envoys. Johannesburg could be good, but I'd have to spend a full 4 envoys for that, and I don't want to do that in the late game. I could steal Nan Madol with a single, boom, done, easy. It's now my city-state. I should put 1 point into Fez, for sure, to get that 3. Do I have any 1-point wonders? I do. Candy, and pick me up. This is just trying to efficiently get as many envoys as possible. If I double place into Brussels, I should jump all the way up to 6. Oh no, it only went to 5, but I still have suzerainty, which is nice. Film studios, or not film studios, broadcast centers are going to become relevant soon, but ideally, again, I want to spend in city-states that other people are suzerain of because I get more value out of it, like Vilnius right now, boom. Oh, Vilnius actually was liberated. Wow. I was not expecting the Vilnius liberation, to be honest. Okay, I'm stomping when it comes to these aid requests, with the exception of Hungary, who's kind of competing with me a little bit. And I do want 3 specialty districts in every city if I can manage it. So let's get that commercial hub up, because remember, if I get three specialty districts, I get 4 housing and 2 amenities in every city. And that's just a good deal. Why wouldn't you take that deal? Now, I've talked about this before a little bit. Matthias Corvinus right now, I think, is my biggest competitor for culture, but he's kind of tied with Pedro. So I think it would be a good idea to maybe send a rock band or 2 at him, which is probably what I'm going to do with my faith. I may buy 1 rock band and try to spread them evenly between Pedro and what's his name? You know the guy. Pedro and Hungary, and that way I kind of split the difference between the 2 of them, because right now they're neck and neck for 2nd place culture, which means if I punch one of them too hard down with rock bands, the other one, like, it's not really helping me because the other one just step ups to the plate. So I kind of need to send my rock bands between the 2 players, because remember, it's important to think of like rock bands are like heists, right? You send them to a specific player to steal tourists from them specifically. So you want to send it to the person who's coming second, whoever you're trying to beat. You get me? And if you do that, great success will follow. That's just, this is the way of it. Empire is looking very good. I need to find cities that are struggling. It's kind of hard to tell now because I'm just so deep into the game. I think Kingston could use a builder. I'm going to send one up his way. Assigning masculine names to cities. It's a city. All right. I think cities actually, weirdly enough, I think most cities are referred to as she's a lovely city, or, the motherland meme or whatever it's called. It's kind of weird though, because we don't really gender things in English, but I know there are languages out there that everything has a gender, which is cool. I think Spanish does that actually. There's male and female nouns, I believe. And they're spelled, there's slightly different grammatical rules to them. But they always explain, here was my problem learning Spanish and French and stuff in school, which I think French also has gendered language, because I think it's also technically a Latin Romance language. I can't remember off the top of my head how exactly all that works. But they explained all these grammatical rules, and then there would be a bajillion exceptions. And I'm like, dude, what's the point of the rule? What's the point of the rule if we're always breaking it? You know what I mean? And I don't know, it just kind of triggered me when I was learning languages. It's why have a rule if no one's following it? All right, we have steel. So I think now we head towards computers. It's 4 techs away, which should be about 10 turns of research. Call it about 12 turns of research. And then we'll get another 25% boost to tourism. Now remember, that boosts our base tourism. So this number is going to start approaching above 1,000 now. Gotta go through my cities and double check I haven't forgotten any archaeologists, because it's very easy to build Kingston. I need to buy an archaeologist here. It's very easy to like build the archaeological museum and then just completely forget to get the actual archaeologist. It's an oversight that I make all the time. Now that I got this industrial zone surrounded by lumber mills as well as an aqueduct and a district, it's getting really good adjacency. +5 industrial zone. I would consider like +3. You should never, ever place an industrial zone with less than +3 adjacency. And I would consider +5 to be a good industrial zone. If you can get above +5, you've got a great. Anything 6 and above is great. 3 is bare minimum. 4 is okay. 5 is good. Kind of like the general rule of thumb that I follow when I'm building these. Oh man, I could actually get Ruhr Valley here. I don't think I will. I don't think it's necessary for me. I mean, it's a little bit of extra tourism. Oh, it is Eiffel Tower time, however. I can get that in 12 turns in the capital, even if I do have to give up this lovely deer tile. Been playing a good bit of Humankind too, where, you know, deer just get massacred in the early game. It kind of feels bad a little bit, but also at the same time, fuck deer. They're rats with hooves, okay? That's my take on deer. I'm just kidding. In Humankind, they're basically piñatas, so you can just like eat them for good tidings, as they say. Who says that? I don't know. Not everything I do or say makes sense. I'm an illogical man. I'm an enigma. Ooh, Glam Rock. Now this is the Forest Band, and I'm gonna take Glam Rock here because I think you got a ton of theater squares down here, so I'll send you on the great journey to Brazil. I think the dream would be to maybe find an island over here where I could set up an airport and just like cut down some of that travel time. I think that's a major criticism I have of Civ as it currently stands, is that it's a little bit hard to actually, you know, do those little outposts on other continents because of the loyalty system. And being able to do that would make the game way more interesting. I feel like there's a few little things about Civ that like this is a great game. But there's like these little edge cases and things where it's like, oh man, the game would be just thematically way cooler if I could just do this thing a little bit easier. Very first stadium completed over here. Now look at these. Look at these. Ice hockey rings, dude. 10 culture. 10 culture per turn. +4 culture if adjacent to a stadium building. Each one of these is worth 10 tourism per turn before modifiers. All right, that's fantastic. Whereas these ones are only worth 6 culture per turn, which is still great. 6 tourism, fantastic. But I want that 10. I gotta, you know, I'm always chasing the big W, the big dub, as they say. Eiffel Tower, 12 turns, fantastic. Now the Eiffel Tower is amazing because right now my empire has, where's the button? There it is. It has really, really high appeal. And the cool thing is, again, these national parks, they scale off appeal. So if I can get the Eiffel Tower, every single one of my national parks that I've placed will get a bonus 8 base tourism, which, once I pick up computers and environmentalism, will be multiplied by 50% at 1.5. So they'll actually be plus 12 base tourism, which then goes on into all these other multipliers over here, like open borders and stuff. I don't know, the tourism multipliers you can do is crazy, which is kind of like I was baffled by the whatchamacallit mode, the monopolies mode, because it was like, dude, tourism already has so many multipliers. Did it need another like 1000%? And I really don't think it did. But yeah, generally my plan is right now to just lay down as much forest as possible. Like there's definitely a national park. Oh, definitely a national park like in here. God, can you actually just let me execute the thing I want to do? There's definitely a national park in here. So most of my turn is just building pre-planned infrastructure. Oh, that's right. I can plug in satellite broadcasts in the not too distant future. Yeah, so I'm basically just focused on a lot of like, I have pins down for things I'm doing. Like I check my national parks. Do I have a forest on every tile? I look for pins, try to improve my infrastructure, improve the growth and production of cities. Let's get that stadium for the extra tourism off these. So the Renaissance wall tech has gone obsolete, which means I no longer get signs from it. It's kind of a brief period of time that you get to take advantage of that, which is why I always plug it in. So I may as well just plug in the lightning warfare, which will allow me to build mounties a little bit quicker, because I do have a couple of mounties on the way. I got a couple of national parks I still need to do. Just a lot of lumber mill placing, a lot of forest placing. This is just such a highly developed empire. Like if I actually check the builder lens, there's not a lot of tiles that are unimproved in my empire. Very first commercial hub with really high adjacency. But yeah, let me go ahead and check that again, right? If I go to builder mode, you just look at this. Very, very few of my tiles are highlighted, and usually only tiles that you can improve are highlighted. And it kind of depends. Like hills come up as this like light blue color. Currently work / wonder buffed comes up as this color. There's like a bunch of colors, but I feel like I've done an amazing job developing my empire, and I really hope that serves as an example for players who kind of struggle a little bit with the game, who struggle making sure they get enough of everything in terms of actually improving your land. Like, again, unironically, if you just build a builder every like second or third thing that you build across your empire, you'll have like a great empire. And then just make sure you focus on getting food and production. And even if you're not focusing on like the right perfect place to put those things, the pieces will fall together and you'll have a good empire. And then as you get better at the game, you'll figure out, okay, I know that I want high production, but I know that this place right here is actually where that production is most relevant to my win. MW. Sounds like I'm simping for George W. Bush. Or even Muad'Dib from Dune. I've been reading Dune recently. It's a fun book. It's very interesting. I'm kind of excited for the movie that's coming up, hence why I'm reading it. I'm kind of disappointed that the movie's, I think it's been delayed due to the old global plague. But yeah, super duper psyched for it. Ooh, Cleopatra Relic at long last. Okay, we're starting to get now a good mix of these. I am going to go run into Cleo's territory to pick up more of these because I do want themed museums. We're coming down to the wire for these aid requests. I'm still ahead on all 3 of them, I believe, so I don't need to worry about that. And in the Nobel Prize, I am disgustingly ahead in every category. It's not even close, bruh. Let's have a look. Can I trade with Incas yet? No, but I can hit Barcelona. That's perfect. Where's Spain? Spain. That's another person that I'm trading with, which is generating extra tourism. Let's have a look at who I'm not trading with. I'm trading with Egypt, Spain, Byzantium. I'm not trading with Hungary anymore, so let's get a trade route to Hungary. We'll go to Hungary and we'll sort by gold. And it looks like Sazed is the place to trade with. I want to trade with as many individual people as possible. I just need to get my trade route number up as well. Also, Korea is just having a bad game right now. Bro. Do you need help? You're kind of struggling, bruh. Oh, we found the Torre del Paine. I don't know how to say that. Torre del Paine. There you go. I said it. I said it wrong, but I said it. City-state emergency against Mansa Musa, who I'm allied to. Thankfully, that didn't drag me into any wars. Kind of okay with that emergency. I'm not being party to it. Did I get screwed at a Mary Leakey here? It can happen. No, we did not. So I reckon it's time, soon enough, we start working those campus research grants to try to power up and grab Mary Leakey. God, St. John. You need so much infrastructure. Well, actually, you're a high production city, so. Ooh, cultural alliance with you. Yes, please. I'll just take it so we don't have to worry about cities flipping and stuff like that. Nice. So we hit a really, really important point here. We have access to radio, so we can start getting broadcast centers, power hard for great works of music. We also have social media, and we will be plugging in online communities. So this is where we have to start making real hard choices. Republican Legacy is amazing. However, I don't think it's nearly as good as New Deal. So I think I can safely get rid of that. And as much as I want to plug in frescoes to get like more artists or whatever, I went the archaeological route. So I want online communities for the 50% tourism, which is a lot of tourism. Eventually I will want satellite broadcast. I'll need this number to be closer to like 50 tourism before I plug that in. So that's my policy agenda set. And oh shoot, I forgot to plug in collective activism. Rip. Right, we'll quickly get cultural heritage because that'll give me heritage tourism, which I will want to plug in. It'll also give me 3 envoys. So yeah, I'll pick up cultural heritage like I said, and then we'll head towards environmentalism. All right, we got James Watt now. Boom. And who comes after him? It looks like it was Gustav Eiffel, who I don't mind skipping Gustav, but I do want James Watt to bounce down to Brantford because that's where he can build a factory for me. Let's start using our gold now. All right, let's get ourselves. Well, first of all, rock band. Boom. Now I think I feel safe buying a couple of extra settlers to settle this tundra. Might get an extra couple of nice things out of it. Broadcast centers are going to be a bit of a priority. It does mean my empire is going to start burning coal real quick. But if you look at it here, great musicians are very, very expensive and very hard to get points for. Like, I only have 19 points. Compared that to great writers, where I have 42. Now, the one big advantage for great musicians is, if I remember correctly, but I'm pretty sure there's a card for great musicians somewhere in here. Buy the library in the university in Peterborough, because I need those extra great scientist points. And I definitely think now is the time to do this. We have broken the 600 tourism milestone, and that number will go up. I feel confident that I will break 1,000 this game pretty comfortably. Probably not by the end of this episode, but very soon. Very, very, very soon. Like, we're at 72 out of 202 tourists. Got our first anti-Hungarian rock band, and oh man, these are terrible promotions. Like, genuinely terrible. We'll just go for indie and hope that we roll well. We're coming up towards the end of the industrial era, and we're picking up great writers and stuff like that. We're going to get our next great musician very soon, TM. And we got a lot of room for great writers, great works of writing. So I think now that we have a really, really strong economy, I think it's pretty safe to come in here and just basically like bribe this dude for all of his great writings and see what he'd take. He wants 100 gold per turn. I think we can bring that down by offering him some other stuff. Like if I offer him 11 iron, maybe some of these memes, grab your luxuries, like 300 Diplo favor, and that's down to 49 gold per turn. That's pretty good. You know what? You could also do with like an extra 20 coal. How do you feel about that now? 37 gold per turn. That's a good deal. And we just took all of his great writings, which means his economy not as good as it used to be in terms of memes. Now, who else got some great writers? Poland's got some, Menelik's got some, India's got some. So let's check through these guys. I'll buy the Raven off Poland for 11 gold per turn, 18 gold per turn for Hungary's great work of writing. I'm going to buy them one at a time. I don't know why, it just feels better to me to do it that way. And now look at this screen. Oh, almost full of great works of writing, all chooching out that lovely tourism. So I'm wondering if we can do some theming here. Actually, if I move this down here, boom, themed museum, there's cultural heritage unlocked. I do want this in my capital, so I'm going to move these great works to Ottawa because I get more value out of them there. And if I filter the list a bit, we're getting a little bit closer to more themed museums. Sitting on 3 envoys, we still have containment plugged in, so we could steal some suzerainty. Oh, speaking of which, I definitely want collective activism plugged in. That's 250 culture. Well, let's send our envoys first. Who could I steal suzerainty of right now? I could nab suzerainty of Zanzibar again. I put 2 points in Vilnius. That would get me close. And now I feel more comfortable to whip out gunboat diplomacy, plug in collective activism for that 300 extra culture per turn, which means we will chooch, baby, all the way to the end of this tech tree. All right, let's do a concert in the Great Library. Let's see how it goes. All right, instantly lost him, but I did get that 2,000 tourism, which does help. I'm running out of things to improve, so I think it's time to start getting my ski resorts online. It's usually one of the last things that I go for. Stadium in Montreal, giving me some nice tourism boosts from these tiles. So I'm mostly just focused on getting my broadcast centers up, moving my great works around, and finding any last little tiles hiding around anywhere that I can just throw down a couple of improvements on. Emma, my spy over here. God damn, they have reached max level. That's a really good spy. And I think this will be one of the last national parks that I place in the entire game. If I go to the national park map mode, there's a couple of extra places that I may be able to squeeze one in, but I really have to think about it. It's not worth it. And I don't know. It probably is, if I think about it. But if I go to my tourism map mode, oh man, look at that. Look at all these tiles generating me tourism. That's good. That's real good. We're up to 80. 86 out of 205 tourists. And since I think we're going to win in the next episode, I'm going to call that episode here. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.